TheFreeRotation podcast.
It's actually just a penis.
Hot dog,
Yeah.
hot dog, hot diggity dog.
Copyright strike, copyright strike. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Free Rotation podcast. I'm here with Beggy.
Oh, you're so cute. I think you're just so cute. I love your cheeks. Okay.
And Bobby.
Hi, I'm not hungover or coked out this morning.
And your hair looks great today.
The humidity, it's fucking shocking.
Wow.
Well,
And
thank
Chris.
Hey.
Before we get started, ladies, I have a grave feeling about this episode.
Oh, it was good.
But,
Well, the thing is, listeners, Becky's actively loading a gun and pointing
I
it
know,
at me
I'm
right
like-
now. She's just groaning. She's like,
end
I
this.
gotta put him down.
Well, we made it a
It's
few
too
hundred.
far.
We made it all over 100 episodes. We're good to go.
Actually,
Between
I'm
skid walkers and grave concerns.
actually going to take a stretch in the yard.
My God.
Oh.
Now Chris is like 1,000-yard staring at me right now. It's great.
You're
He's not
really
even looking at you.
digging your own grave here, Bobby.
I'm gonna murder him.
I
It's gonna be a murder episode as you hear Bobby choke
Yeah.
to death.
I prepped these puns on the car right over here. I was like,
I
I gotta
know.
say some stupid shit.
Good
so-
news is there's lots of cemeteries where you can bury the body.
Well, that's a good
episode.
point, Becky.
Nice
so
segue.
We're going to be talking about cemeteries, but explain to our listeners what the difference is between a cemetery and a graveyard.
Listen here, bitches.
Oh,
I learned this.
wow. It's
You ready?
aggressive. Right off the bat.
A cemetery is like a plot of land that sits off to its own that people are buried in. And they're supposed to be more peaceful. Like they're supposed to be like parks almost.
Non-denominational.
Non-denominational. You can go out.
Welcoming doll.
Yeah, you can go out, visit with your dead family members, have a picnic, talk about how they're dead. I guess that's really what you could do. But think of them without a church on them. That's really the big
Okay,
difference.
there we go.
That's it. But with a graveyard, the way old school graveyards used to be set up is that graveyards would be right outside the church. So as you walked into church, you would have to think about your own mortality and all the bad shit you're going to do, and you're going to go to hell.
And the destination. Like, this
Yeah.
is your final destination. So as you walked up to the church.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about cemeteries, not graveyards.
Right, cemeteries.
I have a question. So if I'm having a picnic with my family in the cemetery and like dead Uncle John's right next to us, do we dig him up and start shoving like the egg salad down his fucking like
Well, yeah,
gullet?
don't be rude.
Yeah, I gotta
Share.
fucking feed him.
Dude, what?
And, like,
I mean,
and, like, open the skull's mouth up and down so he can chew
we
it up.
do it every Easter. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh god, we do eat a dead
Where
man's
is your
flesh.
family from?
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. Can't count on anybody to
Why do you think we have
anything.
above ground graves more so than bottom? It's easier to like open the doors.
Oh, that's the reason I see it. That was the whole sea level bit.
Yeah, no, they lied to you.
Oh.
It's so you can go
False.
like.
It's
Fake
so you
news.
can picnic better.
It's so you could go struggle snuggle the skeletons of your dead ancestors.
That's kind of hot. I think we came with that's like necrophilia, but like to the next level.
I like it.
Their
How long
bones.
has this episode been going? Like 4 minutes, and we're already probably on another list.
Okay, necrophilia's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, it's better than sounding.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that on the podcast. That'll get us like fucking.
Hey,
deleted.
why don't we talk about some cemeteries, guys?
Okay. So we've each chosen a different cemetery we'd like to talk about and the alleged hauntings and spooky stories.
Yes.
So,
As our
I guess
curator-
we'll go in
Clockwise?
order. Thank you.
That's the one.
I was like,
That one.
I'm
I like
making
how you're,
motions in
like,
the
gesturing.
air.
Round robin? I don't.
Well,
can you guys not hear this?
You know, if we go clockwise and make a full rotation.
That's true.
Oh
Let's
my
go.
God.
We're doing it.
Okay, which one? Who's going first?
You are.
Oh,
It's clockwise.
All right.
Burp.
Well, it only makes sense to talk about the most haunted cemetery in the U.S. allegedly. I keep saying allegedly because
Because you're a lawyer.
well,
I mean,
no.
we don't have proof.
Also, proof hauntings.
Also,
Yeah.
well, the thing
Yeah.
is, it's
Oh, there
like
we go.
some of these other cemeteries, like the one in like the ones in Savannah, just sound a lot creepier than this cemetery. But you know, that's how it rolls. But
Everyone knows Savannah, so yeah, let's change it up.
this one is Bachelor's Grove Cemetery outside of Chicago in Illinois. It is considered to be one of the most, if not one of the most haunted cemeteries in the U.S., but it has also appeared on lists as the most haunted cemeteries in the world.
Oh, wow.
So it's got quite the reputation. And if you've heard of it, you've probably heard of it from Ghost Adventures. It was on Ghost Adventures in 2012.
I don't watch that show.
It's a good show. Well, it used to be a good show. It's not so good no more.
I'm not. Zach Baggins is too
Aggressive?
not aggressive. He's I guess he's too much of a bro. It's for bro.
Oh, yeah,
It's not his
yeah.
actual personality. He's just doing it because it's a personality.
The
It's
original
annoying.
few seasons were really good, and then it just got super lame.
I prefer douchebag Zach Bagans to hipster bro
Oh,
Zach
fair.
Bagans.
Those dudes just seem like out of work bodyguards who are trying to make a buck. So
Yeah.
I'm out. I can't deal with it.
That's why BuzzFeed Unsolved is just so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh man.
It's so good.
It's your boy. It's Hey Demons, it's your boy. This cemetery, though, is really small, and it only has 82 plots and approximately 200 bodies that they know of. And it was established around 1840 as part of a small but quickly defunct Illinois settlement. So it wasn't a long-standing place that is there anymore. Matter of fact, where the settlement they think is just abandoned forest. There's
wow.
nothing really there anymore. And while most of the bodies that are purportedly there are settlers and Russian rail workers, by the 1920s, there were rumors that the bodies were being dumped by members of the mafia.
Makes sense.
There's also a lot of reports of murders happening in that area. They would take people out there to get beaten. I think a woman murdered her boyfriend there. So it has like a very sad history to it, but it's kind of like known for all of this bad, violent stuff that's occurred in the area.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, logistically speaking, it kills someone in a cemetery. Fuck, there's half the. You don't have to worry about dragging.
Yeah,
the
that's
bodies.
half.
Right
Yeah,
there.
then that's
That
why I
makes
said
sense.
there's purportedly only 200 bodies there because they believe that there have been other bodies dumped or buried there.
Yeah.
There's also like some swampy lakeland there that they've dumped bodies in as well.
Chuck him into the.
Yeah.
I mean, and if we're arguing and you just suddenly turn to me and be like, you know what? Let's go talk at the cemetery. I'm not going to go with you.
Well, funny about the funny thing about this cemetery is that in the 40s and 50s, it was the teenage hangout. It was
Oh, the makeup
that's where
spot.
you would go make out. Ooh.
I mean, you still even now like most cemeteries and graveyards, you just find beer cans. And
Yeah.
They just go hang out there.
the
'cause
goth
it's
kids go, yeah.
Well, that and it's no one's gonna bother us out in the cemetery at night because who the hell's coming out to a cemetery at night other than weirdos?
Right. I guess the popo, but I
Also
mean,
me.
Hello,
Yeah.
weirdo.
yeah, we are the weirdos.
Also us.
Oh, and we probably should mention the reason why we're doing this episode is because we're going ghost hunting in cemeteries tonight, with permission, of course.
Yes.
Just put that out
Don't
there.
trespass unless you're not going to get caught.
Yeah.
Or just don't trespass.
Sure.
I like Angie's face. She's like, mm.
We're not talking about trespassing and what we have or have not done.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So this cemetery itself sits in the back of a forest that had long been abandoned up until I think the cemetery itself became such a popular place for hauntings and doing tours. But the sightings really began to peak in the 1970s and 80s. The cemetery itself suffered from vandalism since it was the teenage hangout. And along with graves being desecrated, which led to a lot of rumors of occult practices happening in the area. So they did believe that there were Satanists in the woods, essentially.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
And what's scary about this place, though, is like it's actually very difficult to find, and you can miss it going. You'll end up in the middle of the woods and not know where you are, just where this place is, just because it's so small. And there's said to be these are the hauntings that have purportedly occurred. There's said to be a ghostly farmhouse which purportedly floats and then vanishes. Witnesses have reported that the house will shrink as they approach it before disappearing altogether.
That's fucking trippy.
It is. I
Yeah.
was like, you just suddenly see a random farmhouse in the middle of the woods. I ain't going near it.
That's like a weird mirage.
I mean, I might.
You would be that one.
Because it's a house.
It's like the Black House.
What is it
Stephen
going to,
King
like,
book.
punch me with a door?
Yeah, it's a
I'm
ghost
going to have
house.
to be really close for
Have
that.
you fucking watched Monster House? That thing was
I have,
eat you. That
yeah.
was fucking eat you.
There's also a purportedly, witnesses have said they see multiple figures emerging throughout the cemetery dressed in monk robes.
Well, you know what I think about going back to the house? I'm stuck on it.
Okay.
In Final Fantasy VII, remember you fight the haunted house? Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, you fight a haunted house. You
I
have
never-
to fight a house in the
I never
arena.
played 7.
It's
That is
like
such a
the final
Japanese
boss-
thing.
The final boss is a haunted house, and it kicks your ass.
I just love the idea that this is like a metaphor for like mortgage payments or something. Like it'll kick your ass
Yeah.
and you just can't win against the bank.
That's funny.
They never stop.
It just never stop until you die. And then they still don't stop because you're in debt.
Yep.
And you got to have your family pay it. This is a really morbid episode in all different kinds of ways. They've also talked about seeing a black dog at the cemetery entrance, which also will disappear when you attempt to approach it, like a devil dog.
I want to pet the pupper.
It's a tail dog.
So remember, my goal, I want to
That's
pet Ghost
Bobby's
Pupper.
goal.
What if it's just a stray dog that just runs off into the woods?
I mean, some of these
Like-
probably are exactly what that is, but then there are like reports of seeing a 2-headed ghost, and I'm like, that's a little strange. That's a
Okay,
little...
that's
It seems like you could
weird.
track that down. Like,
Yeah. If I saw something that looked 2-headed and it disappeared, I'm like, probably a fucking ghost. Like, that's the only way you can think about it. Then here's what Bachelor's Grove is actually well known for, and I think that's why it got so popular, is that in the Chicago Sun-Times, there was this picture posted of a woman sitting on a grave. And at the time the picture was taken, the person who took it said there was nobody sitting there. But when the picture was actually developed, and you look at it, it is a creepy picture. There's a transparent woman sitting on this grave, and they believe the grave is a woman who had died there.
And they did determine that the photograph hadn't been doctored.
Right. So there was like no visible person in that graveyard or in the cemetery at the same time. So it sort of kind of spurned the popularity of Bachelor's Grove being this like haunted cemetery and all that. And of course, you also hear about the floating orbs and phantom vehicles in the area. And also, there's apparently a movie, but the IMDb looks super sus. So I didn't go any further to look at it.
We're dating this episode with sus.
I know.
Phantom cars, or vehicles.
Phantom vehicles. I just like there is
In the graveyard.
Yeah, and well, there's also there's rumors of this farmer with his donkey who died in a lake. They'd fallen in the lake or something. So you see that, and then I'm thinking like a horse and carriage just kind of riding through. If I saw that in the middle of the woods, I'd be like, okay, that's weird.
See, that makes more sense than
Then Christine.
the 1-800 Flowers van hanging out of the cemetery transparently.
No, it's
that's
just
unfortunate.
Is that an Amazon
that's the
van
feds.
just going by?
Yeah.
Is that the ice cream truck?
Can you imagine though? Like you see an Amazon van, and it's like, man, that 2-day shipping are real good, even for dead people.
Jesus.
Bringing up ice cream trucks, a couple of days ago, we had one go through our neighborhood. Like, it's fucking October, bro. You missed your fucking window by.
I don't know. I really like.
He has a monopoly.
Yeah.
It's just him.
That's right. He just rides around. But although I do like ice cream in the cold, I don't know why.
I haven't liked ice cream trucks ever since I read The Regulators.
That's the
fair.
truth.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear the ice cream truck around here after reading the Regulators, I go to the room with like no windows. So
I'm
I'll
like,
just sit
duck
there.
and make sure it's real. Do the kids live? I mean, send them
Unfortunately.
out like the canaries. The kids are the canaries in this case.
Run out there real quick.
What's the movie where the girl's like, I want strawberry, and the fucking hitman's like stolen the ice cream truck and just fucking blows her brains out. Some movie from like the 70s or 80s where that happens. I think it might be one of the Dirty Harry movies. Like he fucking blows her, and you can see her eye socket and shit. It's fucked. I had to look that up because I actually it was in a movie. I was like, hey, what's this from?
I do like how Bobby just keeps talking because we're all looking at him like we don't know what the fuck you're talking about, buddy.
No, it's fine.
He could literally just be making this up right
I
now.
know.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen the clip on YouTube.
Did
It's
you see the
something.
one where the guy also blew up the guy's head, but he had asked for chocolate, so he shit himself? Like that's the. I'm just making that one up. That one is made up.
Fuck you.
I bought it. I thought it was real. I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense than.
Strawberry.
Yeah, suddenly she's a redhead.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Why are
Okay.
you looking at me for this? I didn't do anything.
You started this. This is all you.
True.
All right, Becky, and where was that graveyard again in the
That
name?
is a Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in. I think it's Okay, this sounds really cool. It says Midlothian, Illinois. I'm like, damn, it's in the middle of like Asgard or some shit. But it's outside Chicago. So if you ever want to go visit.
Chicago has another spooky cemetery as
Yeah,
well.
they got a lot of weird, spooky shit up there.
Yeah.
But this one is like the one that's purportedly known to be the most
Yeah.
haunted grave. I would love to go visit it, but
Yeah.
I don't know about Satanists in the woods and shit like that.
Fine,
That-
fight
I
them.
bet
Bunch
most
nerdy
of that
kids.
is either grave robbery, like actually stealing things out
Yeah.
of the graves. Because there's just not, even research-wise, there's just not a lot of actual proof of any Satanists really screwing with dead bodies too terribly often.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing that, it's just one of those like urban myths that happens in like middle America. Like, the Satanists are out. Like,
Well, and funny enough, like this, like that Ghost Adventures episode, that's the only reason why I know it exists, which is funny. But if you watch the episode, it's the most, to me, even though I know they probably make up a lot of stuff, to me, it felt like it was the most realistic episode because they were seeing ghost orbs. They were seeing lights out in the woods. They were hearing a lot of noises. And I was like, you could probably make all that up. But at the same time, I could see that being something that would happen.
I think the most realistic one they had was the Witching Circle in the Carolina.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
North Carolina. I really want to go there. We should go there.
Is that the one where it's like a bunch of like it's all dead, but except for that one
Yeah,
spot?
nothing
Yeah.
grows and it's a perfect symmetrical circle.
Crop circles, man.
It's probably just a magnetic focus point.
or somebody salted the earth right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that
They
they
want-
used
Especially
to
if
do
they
that.
think it's evil,
Yeah.
they'll salt the earth.
They used
Yeah.
to do that back in the day. They would literally basically till rock salt into the soil to prevent anything from
Yeah.
growing.
That's how you like conquer your
Yeah, but
enemies too back
that's a
long time ago.
reasonable, logical explanation. I prefer
We were
haunted
going
shit.
superstition
Again,
here, Chris.
I look at things more scientific, and it's not that I don't want these things to be real. I just want proof of
Oh,
them
yeah,
being
yeah.
real.
You're good, man. Don't worry about it. It's all
You know.
Gucci.
Chris, you arguably have the most interesting cemetery?
So I'm the one I've picked was St. Louis number 1 in New Orleans. Mostly because it is my favorite cemetery to visit. I try to go to New Orleans at least once a year. It is one of my favorite cities on earth. And again, I tend to approach these things pretty methodically, and I don't get spooked out much, but this cemetery is creepy as all get out. And it was built in 1789. It was the Catholic Church basically went ahead and said, yes, we're going to build a cemetery here, because back in the day, a lot of the cemeteries were ordained by whatever church, whether it be Baptist, Catholic, Lutheran, whatever. They each had their own kind of plots of land.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chris, I'm going to stop you right here because we do have to face an important fact. You are not a Saints fan.
No.
You're a Browns fan.
Yes.
Okay, so you like the city of New Orleans.
I love New Orleans. It is one of my favorite cities in America.
We couldn't handle a Saints fan in the house. It's happened before. It didn't go well.
I just, again...
They're dead.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
aggressive.
don't go in my backyard cemetery out there.
So I love St. Louis number 1. I think there's actually 3 St. Louis number 1, 2, and 3 in New Orleans, because there are a lot of mausoleums down there and dead people. And again, they go back to the late 1700s, and there have been a lot of people live and die in New Orleans. It's just they got to put them somewhere. They mostly are in mausoleums because the New Orleans is below sea level, and every time there is a flood, a storm, a hurricane, a tropical storm, rising waters, if they weren't in mausoleums, and this happens every year, bodies like to float up from the ground.
Think
That's
poltergeist.
Well,
as they-
that's one of the scariest parts, I think, and not in a oh my god, I'm super nervous, scared kind of thing, but like the idea of being buried there, but one day you're gonna have some bad rains and you're just gonna go float down the river.
If I want to be cremated, but if I were buried, I would hope that my body would like rise up and like terrify
Surprise!
somebody. Just really hope that happens.
That is so funny.
I wouldn't feel disrespected at all.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you believe. If you believe that you stay with your earthly remains, then it's probably a problem. If you believe there's a spirit and it moves on to whatever dimension, heaven, next life, other life form, whatever, then at that point it's just meat and bones, and who cares?
Yeah.
Like, well, it's just creepy for everyone
just a
else that sees it.
carcass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just, again, that just depends on what you believe. I go down to, and I literally go to New Orleans for the cemeteries. Like, I really enjoy it down there. It is peaceful. The artwork is gorgeous. The mausoleums they're intricate, and the marble it's really beautiful, and it's old school craftsmanship that just you don't really see anymore. A lot of the statues and crypts you see nowadays are almost all like poured concrete, and it just doesn't have that same, I don't
Flair.
know. That and the marble, the way it ages because it'll get things growing on it in the mold, and it'll discolor, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And you just don't, concrete just doesn't look like that. And you see it even in Atlanta, up in Oakland, there's a lot of concrete angels, and they break them, and there's just rebar in them, and it doesn't feel as authentic, I guess. It just seems like it's a movie prop. I don't know. It just doesn't have that same feel to me. But, so St. Louis number 1 in New Orleans is where Marie Laveau is buried. Supposedly, that's where her crypt is.
Oh, I've been to that one. Okay, cool. We've been into that
Yeah.
one. Okay, cool.
Marie Laveau was the voodoo queen of New Orleans, and basically the voodoo queen of ever. Like,
That's like the one if you know anything about voodoo.
Yeah,
Like, that's the name you hear.
She's the one. Marie Laveau's crypt, it's not below ground. It is also a mausoleum. If you go visit it, there are a lot of candles. There's chalk. There are bones, like chicken bones, I believe. They're not like people fingers or anything. One of the voodoo things is they draw 3 X's on her grave a lot, to the point of where the original crypt has been destroyed. Like, they just messed with it so much that it's just wrecked. And they had to sanction a rebuilding of another crypt on the same spot, but they just had to build another one. It's not blocked off. Supposedly, you're not supposed to be able to get to it, but there is still, when you go out there, there's still a lot of candles and a lot of chicken bones and a lot of X's and chalk and a lot of the voodoo, I don't know the proper terms, sigils or the symbols. I have no idea what they all mean. I am not a voodoo priest, I guess, but it's really cool to look at. It's also really terrifying because they also like to go out there at night into the other crypts, the lesser known people, and, break them open and get in there and do whatever voodoo spells they're doing. They'll light candles inside broken mausoleums, and you can see there are sarcophagus with, even children that are raised up, and they're brass with, the way they used to build the children's sarcophagus was they were solid brass except for the face was glass. Well, viewing the dead used to be a thing, and even to the point of where there were memento mori cards, and you'd go to a funeral and they would give you a giant card with the person's life and their death and who they were, and it was just a keepsake. They used to do dead people's hair and teeth and give them as gifts, as it was just a memento mori thing. It was just a way to honor and remember the dead. So we think it's kind of weird that they would inter children with their faces looking out on the darkness, but to them it was just a way to make sure they could see their dead loved ones and remember them.
It's actually kind of sweet too if you think about it, like in a weird morbid way. Is it's like you think of your like you have something you can view your children again if there's ever a time you go out and see them. It's creepy to us, but at the same time it kind of makes sense if you're
and I don't think death
grieving.
was as we look at death as in a different way, because it was, especially you're talking 1700s, way more prevalent.
Yeah.
And there's this weird thing where everybody thinks, back in the day, the average life expectancy was 40. The reason for that isn't because you got sick at 38 and died. It's because so many infants died at young ages.
Yeah.
There were a lot of 60 and 70-year-olds, but that's just how math works. If you die at 2, you need somebody to make it to, 84 to average out 40. Like, that's just where you're at.
Yeah.
So, and it was just more commonplace back then. Death wasn't as horrifying, I think. I think it was just more, that's the reason people had large families, was because 3 of our 9 kids are going to die.
Yeah.
So it was just a little more common. They would have, again, all the memento mori stuff, and they just didn't view it the same way we do. But that being said, they still break into the mausoleums to this day. I mean, it's really off-putting to look into. You're walking through this. If you've never been there, imagine crypts side by side for as far as you can see, basically, and thousands of them. It's really interesting, and it's marble, and it's gorgeous, but it's also really. It's supposed to be a holy place or a place to remember, and it's really weird to think that these people are breaking into mausoleums and performing whatever spiritual magic they perform.
Well, and that's even like how in Colonial Park Cemetery, they ended up closing it just because people were breaking in to do voodoo stuff.
They've considered that at the St. Louis, but there's such huge tourist attractions, they think it would really hurt the
probably
the
industry.
the tourist money coming into Nolans. That Marie Laveau's grave is down there, and she supposedly haunts St. Louis number 1. They say that you can see her. She wore a headrest, a head wrap, a turban, whatever you want to call it, but it was red and white, and it was just, that's what she wore. And that's when she's described, and when they have pictures and drawings of her, that's just what she wore. And people say they see it basically walking between the crypts, and then it just disappears. Yeah. It's just gone.
She just looks like a woman walking the crypts,
Yeah.
and then suddenly she's just not there.
Yeah. And that's the way they identified that it's her, was her red and white turban. Which is, I mean, if you are the voodoo queen, and it is, if it is a real thing, maybe she can come back and do whatever.
Well, I was thinking. Go ahead.
The voodoo priestesses of New Orleans still go visit her.
Absolutely.
It's like their Mecca trek.
Yeah.
They go.
A lot of people do, to the point of where I've been out there when it's getting dusk, and they have guided tours out there. They have like tour guides that'll show you all the famous people and important people's graves and where they're buried and all. And to the point of where tour guides will tell you, like, if it gets dark, you probably don't want to be in the cemetery because weird stuff starts. People come out here and do weird things, and they're not comfortable with you being here if you're not part of what they're doing.
Because the thing about Marie Laveau is, and I'm not trying to be blasphemous, but the closest you could say is she was accepted by all the Loa. Like, they didn't.
Yeah.
They blessed her. And a Loa, think of like Papa Legba, you might piss him off and you might make him happy. You just never knew. But he was like, she was favored by him. So think of her like an intercessory like Jesus.
Sure.
Or Muhammad. I'm really not trying to offend anybody. But
Well, I'm thinking too, like, if I'm the voodoo priestess and I have people coming out, leaving trinkets, doing like voodoo practices in the graveyard, still even breaking into different crypts and stuff like that to do it, why not haunt the place where all of that is happening anyways? Like, your body's here, you're worshipped here. This is your place.
Or maybe whatever they're doing is keeping her here.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
maybe
that's true,
part of it
too.
too. Like,
Beliefs give power.
yeah. So she is down there, and she has seen a lot. Also, and this one is a little more sketch whether or not she's actually buried there, is Madame Lalaurie Delphine.
Oh, yeah.
Delphine was royalty basically back in the day. They were upper class, had a lot of money. They had slaves, because if you had a lot of money back in the day in the South, you pretty much probably had slaves. I mean, it's just what it was. You had farms. I wasn't alive back then. I don't know how everyone was treated, but she was a monster. And her mansion burned down. It was considered the grandest mansion in New Orleans at the time, which is bananas crazy since everybody had money down there. A lot of people had money down there.
Yeah.
Her mansion burned down. Her family fled. In the ashes, the townspeople of New Orleans found, I think it was 4 slaves that had been bound and tortured up in the attic. The Delphines fled New Orleans supposedly for Paris. That's the last that anything is really heard of them until I think it's the early 2000s. One of the streets in New Orleans has like a brass placard on it, but it's faced into the concrete. Like it's face down, so all you see is the smooth brass back of it. Street cracks. A street crew goes out there to fix it, and they flip it over, and it's got Madame Delphine's birth date, death date, where she died, and what crypt she's buried in. Which means they fled, probably not actually to Paris. They probably just left New Orleans for a while and then moved back under
A different name.
Yeah, an assumed name. Because people were, and you have to think, this was the 1700s, and people were still appalled at how she was treating her slaves.
Yeah.
That is horrifying
Yeah.
to me. And these people, again, back then, slaves were thought as less than people.
Yeah.
Like, they just weren't humans. Like, they were basically beasts of burden. And for them to be horrified at how she treated them is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Supposedly, she haunts St. Louis #1, but again, they're not even sure if she's actually in that crypt or not. There's no way to tell, because when they move back, if they did actually move back,
There's no record of it.
well, there's no record of it, or she was so enamored with New Orleans, perhaps because they did have a lot of money. Maybe her husband just paid for a placard to be put near their house
Oh, that's true too.
after she passed. I mean, there's no way to prove it one way or the other unless you can basically genetically date her family that exists to whoever's buried in that crypt. And then you have to inter the crypt and pull the body and get
Yeah.
the hold of the family. It's just a whole big thing for something that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
That doesn't really affect anything. Like, it's not like there was... her family's never going to be charged with the murders of those slaves. Like, it is what it is. Like,
Right. And it kind of gives a mystery to it anyway.
it does, and that's part of the whole New Orleans feel when you get away from the French Quarter, which I love New Orleans. I can do without the French Quarter personally. It is... If you've never been, you should go. It is beautiful. You need to go to the French Quarter once, but it smells like urine and vomit because
does.
there's urine and vomit.
Everywhere.
Yeah, the only time I enjoy the French Quarter is at like 6 a.m. because they have street sweepers that have, I mean, it's like Dawn dishwashing liquid that go scrub the streets
Yeah.
so it smells clean.
My first visit to New Orleans back in college, we came in and, you started on the cobblestone streets. And I looked to the left, or to the right, and there's just a man with his pants down just pissing, right literally in the middle of
Yeah,
the street. That was my
it's not a
first
thing.
impression of New Orleans.
My first trip down there, I was 17. Me and my friends decided to take off on a Friday after high school and just, screw it, let's go to New Orleans. So we did. So we get down there, and it is a week before Mardi Gras. And it is bananas crazy down there. There was no carding me for anything I wanted. No one cared. There were so many people, it was just the thing. And when we got down there, they were having a parade because there are a lot of parades in New Orleans. It's just one of those things. And it's cool. It's fine. And the first float was Miss Preteen Irish New Orleans. And it was like a 12-year-old girl, and she's in her like ball gown, and she's waving, and everybody's drinking beer, and the gentleman next to me just screams out, "Show me your boobs."
Oh,
And I'm
my
like,
God.
I gotta get out of here. This is weird.
This is not wholesome.
But that's just how it is down there. Like when I say there are no rules, it's like stepping into a different world. It's
Yeah.
really weird, especially during the party times. And if that's your scene, that's cool. It's just not. It's not my scene. I don't mind crowds, but I don't like being that close to people when
Yeah.
they're drinking and there's nowhere to really go. And it's just, I'm not comfortable with it. A lot of people are. A lot of people really enjoy it. It's just not for me. I would rather go to a small dive bar and have a beer and watch the parade on TV rather than be out there watching these people.
Yeah.
Did you go to Snake and Jake's?
I did.
That place is great.
Yeah. We also found, and I can't remember for the life of me what it's called. I went down there a few years ago, and we found like a weird little surf bar in New Orleans where they were playing nothing but like surfer music, and they had like Kurosawa films playing on the TVs at all
Nice.
times.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't like the same film. They had like 4 different samurai films all at once, and they played nothing but surf music. And there were like 3 people in there. I'm like, this is the greatest place on. Why is this place not packed out?
Yeah.
But it was fun. There are a tons of things to do down there. They have scavenger hunts, and New Orleans is just a great place. There are a couple other, they call them famous ghosts. There is one named Alphonse. Alphonse is like a local person that doesn't actually have, he doesn't actually have a grave marker or anything. Supposedly, like a lot of the locals see him, and he keeps asking them to take him home.
Oh,
he just
God.
shows up, and he'll his thing is he likes to grab your hand and say, "Hey, can you take me home?" But because he's in one of the paupers, because they have a lot of paupers' graves out there too. Again, the place has been in existence since 1789. They didn't necessarily, everybody that lived in New Orleans didn't have a whole lot of money, so they just chucked a bunch of people into the ground. That's why the bodies still float up every now and then. If you couldn't afford a mausoleum or a crypt or a grand gesture for your loved ones, they'd chuck them in the ground. That's just what they did. So he is apparently one of the lost ghosts from that side of the cemetery. And he just wants his grave to be found, supposedly.
Oh, that's so sad.
He likes to grab people's hand and ask, can you take me home?
Yeah.
And apparently it's really odd. He's super nice, never scares anybody other than when he first approaches and touches you and you're not expecting somebody to hold your hand. But he's never, he doesn't, jump out and boo at people. Mm-hmm. When that one is the one where I'm like, man, I wish I could find that dude's grave.
Yeah.
I want to take him back to where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's the one that creeps me out because it's the one what if he is stuck between whatever dimension or heaven and hell or purgatory or whatever you want to call it. He needs to find his earthly remains to move on. That's the part that I'm like,
And that's even sadder because what if he's one of the people who did float away? He's not even there anymore and he's just lost.
Yeah.
He's forever wandering. That's really sad.
Yeah. His story is the one that reminds me most of in Beetlejuice when they go see their caseworker for the first time and they see the room of lost souls, the ghosts that have been exorcised. That's the one where they're just lost and don't know they're lost. That's the one that hurts my heart the most because it's like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Just get this dude back to whatever grave or bones or whatever he needs so he can go to whatever's beyond. Even if it's just darkness, it's got to be better than wandering looking forever. That sucks. He's not one of the creepy ones. None of the ones really in New Orleans are really supposedly all that scary. They just happen to be there.
It's just weird. And you would think because it's New Orleans, you would get the creepy vibe from it and all that stuff. The ghosts would be so creepy. But honestly, the stories, if you hear about it, it's mostly related to voodoo. And it's mostly related just to historic figures.
Why I'm generally not afraid in cemeteries because you never hear.
Yeah.
You hear about living people doing bullshit.
Yeah. Well, even in those cemeteries, and I tend to not get freaked out by too terribly much. Those places, the ones down there, give me an eerie vibe.
Yeah.
You can tell there is something going on.
That energy.
Something is not. It's not an even playing field. Something is happening, and I'm not a part of it, and I don't like it. You can feel it when you walk through there. It's really weird, and it's not. I've been to Bonaventure in Savannah. I've been to Oakland and Atlanta. I like cemeteries. I like sculpture. These places are interesting to me, and I don't get the same feeling from those. Even at Oakland and Atlanta, where they're supposedly the Confederate dead have their roll call, and there are a lot of. The cemetery in Oakland and Atlanta is separated by black, white, and then there's a whole Jewish section. They literally separate you by whatever you are up there. And there are some not nice people buried up in Oakland, but I don't get a weird vibe up there.
I think it would be interesting for you because I took Angie out to Savannah for the first time, and the first place we went was Bonaventure. She said the same thing. She doesn't get the creepy vibe from Bonaventure. The creepy vibe is in Colonial Park. I don't know if you've been out to Colonial Park.
I have not.
Colonial Park's the oldest cemetery, I think, in the United States, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an American. You have to go out there and check it out because it's they say there's 800 known graves out there, but there's 1,100 people buried.
No, 11,000.
Oh, 11,000. That's right.
How do you go backwards back?
Well, that's terrifying.
I said 800 to
800 known.
Yeah,
okay, right.
But there's 11,000 because there's mass graves from the yellow fever. And then it's another thing, and they ran out of room, so they just started putting people
piling them
in
on
the
top
ground.
of each other.
Yeah.
That's what they used to. Even in New Orleans, that was a thing. Yellow fever hit, they just stuck them all in a grave.
yeah.
They dug a big pit and get these people out of here because the dead will infect the living.
Mm-hmm. And they just started opening up tombs and crypts and throwing people
Shucking
in there.
them. Ugh.
And then they've lost people, famous people. It's Macintosh. They're like, we think this is his grave, but it's probably not.
Huh.
How do you lose a whole body?
Yeah, they had like they went out. They had found some. I can't remember who it was exactly. Maybe it was Macintosh, where they had found his grave and they had given it to somebody who, or it was a teacher.
A teacher had found his grave.
So they were like holding on to it because they kind of wanted. Some people wanted to send it back to Washington.
They were like, you just hang on to the body until we figure out what to do. So he put it in his closet.
Yeah. So
At
then
home.
you have to remember they were countries fighting over his body because they were like, no, he needs to be buried here.
Like Scotland wanted
Yes.
him.
Well,
and-
Chief Macintosh, for people that don't know, he's kind of a big deal around this part of the world.
Yeah.
Because he kind of bartered the deal for most of where we're living now.
And now I don't remember if exactly it was Macintosh, but it was, or maybe it was the guy who did the Declaration of Independence. I can't remember.
It was both of them. They
Yeah.
lost everybody
But
important
basically,
out there.
for the history guy, he got so fed up waiting for them to make a decision, he just
He
buried
just went
them
and buried
in
him.
Colonial Park.
So they're like, okay, we're ready for the body. And he's like, good luck
I don't know where
finding him.
I don't know where we buried him.
He's somewhere in this area. So they've lost him again.
That seems like a fun treasure hunt.
It is.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, go check out
Well,
Colonial Park and see if you get the vibe on
The
it.
craziest part is that he dug him up in the first place.
Yeah.
And then just was like, I'm taking it home.
Just went out and dug him up. And
stuck
okay,
him in
this
the
is like
closet.
in the 80s. This isn't that long ago.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
At no point have I thought, I'm going to dig this guy up and see what his body looks like. And then
What-
take him home with me.
And then as you're walking on the sidewalk, there's a unique pattern in the bricks. And then you find out that pattern is for all the people buried there who were unnamed and unmarked.
Oh, God.
And they're like, this is a very unique pattern, and it's just thousands.
You think that it's like, they say it looks like a smaller cemetery, but they said that the reason why it's so small now is because they've built up.
the city,
around
I mean,
it.
you know
City
how
around
Savannah
it,
is
yeah.
Absolutely,
built up
yeah.
over the...
So
And then there's one grave that you can just see that it opens up, but it goes under the road, and they're like, well, her bones, you can see them, but we're not going to dig her up because she's like under a road and half buried.
yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
They
that's
should probably give her a proper burial.
They say bones still just wash up.
Yeah, that's awful.
Like to this day, you walk through and be like, oh my God,
I
is
would
that
be-
a femur?
But I would be curious to see if you get that same vibe
Yeah.
because I didn't get that vibe in Bonaventure. I don't get that, and I've never really gotten that vibe in a lot of cemeteries. But Colonial Park just has I have a whole story about that, but I don't want to talk about it on podcast.
Yeah, we'll have to get into it because we got to move on to
Yeah.
Bobby's. But yeah.
I'm sitting here patiently. No, you're fine. Don't
Bob-
smoke, kids.
I was
The
like,
ghost
speaking
got
of
him.
Colonial Park, here's my entire story about Colonial Park. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
no. So I'm talking about Gumsey Hollow Cemetery, also known as South Catholic Valley Cemetery in, what's this weird place called? In Frewsburg, New York. It's kind of middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So it's like out in the woods, and there's only one path in and one path out.
Oh shit.
So it's like, especially at night, it's real creepy. Because like if you're stuck, you get stuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. But so it was created in the early 1800s, and it's the home of multiple graves, including many kids. Lots of
Oh,
kids.
shit.
Yeah. Because it was used for smallpox. It's where they dumped all the smallpox bodies. Let's get them in here,
Oh.
get them out. This is sad, but one of the graves belongs to a young girl. They don't know her name. But she was murdered in a cemetery. She was a 7-year-old girl, and she suffered from a mental illness. And back in the day, people don't understand that kind of stuff. They think you're just fucking crazy. And she would constantly annoy people in the town. But she didn't do it on purpose. She just didn't. Then they didn't know better. And eventually a mob of them chased her into the woods, into the cemetery. And they stoned her to death.
Oh my God.
Yeah, stoned her to death.
And she's a little girl?
Yep, little girl. It's fucked. Yeah.
Wow.
And she was eventually buried there,
That's
but
terrible.
it wasn't until a week later they buried her. So she was above ground for a fucking solid week.
Holy crap.
So that sounds weird, but they also used to, you have to remember, they used to lay people up in state
Yeah.
when they died. that happened to my grandpa. Like,
Yeah.
I was going to say that happened to my great aunt.
they just took them to their
Yeah.
family's house and they'd lay there for a few days. And
Like
it's,
on a table.
yeah. Well,
Well,
that,
they kept her just in where that fucking shit is, like in the grass.
Oh, so they
Not-
stoned her, killed her, left her.
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't
Fuck
like.
that.
well,
they-
if they, whatever her,
Yeah.
her issue was, no one may have cared. Like, they may have just
Yeah.
been, and again, if she had mental problems, you don't know.
Was she schizophrenic
Well,
and dangerous?
Me and my wife were discussing this last night about how much different it is today versus 100 years ago for people, even if you have Down syndrome. 100 years ago, they didn't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
Like,
They locked you up.
yeah, well, there was a word for it, and it was mongoloid retard. That was the medical diagnosis for like Down syndrome. And these people just got locked into cages or small rooms or whatever. And now, like, we know, okay, we understand what's going on. We can help these people. We can teach them to be functional members of society. They can have as fulfilling a life as they can. Like, it's just a different world now. So we look at like mental illness back then, we look at it from our point of view where we can't imagine doing that. But back then, they may have looked at it as a curse, or the family had done something, or she was a blight upon the land.
Especially, I'm
Yeah.
thinking if she had turrets, and I just had Tourette's, same Tourette's.
She had
But
turrets.
she would just, like, say, like, horrible stuff. And
Well-
they might think she was possessed.
Yeah, or she's schizophrenic and actually, like, goes, or
And
multiple
sees stuff and
personalities.
talks to herself. Yeah.
Or one of her personalities is evil or a witch,
Right.
because, again, that was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah.
The townspeople are going to believe her that wasn't
Or
schizophrenia wasn't a
her
thing.
Tourette's causes her to yell out, like, fuck me, Satan.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They're gonna assume she's possessed by the devil.
Oh, yeah, I still would. Like, I'll be honest. Like, you still have, like, why would you yell that out? I can not understand it, but it's...
I just think it's hard when these situations arise. We have to look at it through the time period. We can't look at it the way we would look at it, which is like, these people are monsters. They may have really believed this devil was there to ruin their lives, to kill them all, and it sucks, and they were all awful people. However, they may not have thought they were doing something wrong. It wasn't like this was an annoying girl that was like, "Hey, will you jump rope with me?" She may have had actual problems that terrified them.
Like,
Yeah.
tried to stab him,
Yeah.
like a super violent, Cuddy McStabby.
Absolutely.
Bitey.
And there was no cure for that short of lobotomy back in the
Or
day.
stoning her.
Yeah.
Well, people say now when you go visit her grave, you lay flowers down there. The flowers will have levitated, like the bundles of flowers have levitated in front of them. They hear loud giggles, and they feel tugs on their hair.
Okay, yeah, she's a hair puller. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like,
Gotta throw them rocks.
like it's like one thing to be like, and the flowers will suddenly disappear. Like, you just come
Yeah.
back and they're gone. For them to be levitating, that's a little
In front of in front of you.
Yeah.
And like, think about Chris's, like, can you take me home?
Yeah.
Okay. Innocent ghost. I'm going to levitate flowers, scare the shit out of you, and then pull your hair.
Yeah, it's just I wonder how much of this
Okay.
is their energy as what their spirit or their soul or whatever you want to call it is still
hanging out.
resonating. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are two supposedly other spirits that haunt the grounds. Verses of a young boy that likes to be a person's shadow, like he'll just mimic you and stuff, and you can only see him at the corner
Like
of your
Peter
eye.
Pan.
Something like that. But he's corporeal, so you see him, but like it's at the corner of your eye, and he's mimicking your movements.
Oh my god.
Like a copycat. And then, but as soon as you
That's terrifying.
It's-
That's scarier to me than anything we've heard.
turn around to leave, he fucking disappears.
God.
And then the other one is of an elderly old woman that stands watch at the gate as you arrive, and as you get closer, she'll disappear into a fucking mist.
She goes to the farmhouse in my story.
Pretty much.
She's
Something, yeah.
the farmer lady from that story. She's like, "Hi, would you like some cookies?" Bah, bitch.
Other legends are you need to kiss the cross that's in the front of the cemetery, and catch
I'll be
some.
damned
Yeah.
if I do.
Otherwise, you risk something following you back home.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Better that than the cross.
You often hear moans, see orbs. You have various power failures on flashlights, cameras, and even like your car. Like if you drive there,
Well, that's only one way in and out
Yeah.
of that place,
Yep.
and like your car fails out. I would just be like, "Well, I guess I'm dead now."
Mm-hmm.
Go like lay on a grave and be like, "This is where I live. Good night." I gotta go
yeah.
back really fast to the
You're
small
good.
kid though, because if I was a haunting, I would do shit like that too. Like if I haunted people,
yeah, just troll
I would
them.
do some shit like that too. I'd be like, "What are you doing? Do you see me?"
Oh, you mean the mimicky, the
Yeah.
copycat? And that's where you just start dancing to Charleston and...
Also, people claim to see giant versions of animals, like big fucking wolves, like wolves the size of cars, albino deer, and like just like big fucking dead animals in the middle of a cemetery. Like
is like-
eviscerate.
It is
Let me just throw this out here. Albino deer are very real.
Yeah. Oh no. I
That's a
agree.
thing.
But no, what they're saying is they're bigger than a normal deer. Like they're big. So who knows?
Like it's like this cemetery sounds like it's an amalgamation of all the weird shit that could happen.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's a nice like grandma ghost lady that'll welcome you to the cemetery. By the way, this kid's gonna pull your hair, and you see that big ass deer over there? Yeah, that's a giant deer.
It just
And
sounds
as you're
like
running, the copycat will...
yeah. It sounds like a lot of the urban legends about cemeteries just all jammed into one, which is whatever the way I look at it. Like the little boy ghost that you can't see if you look at him. That's not. I don't care.
I would
Like,
think-
that's not a thing to
my
me.
thing though is if I like out of the cemeteries, I would picture that in a New York cemetery. Like that's what that
yeah.
would be the vibe I'd get.
Especially the troll copycat.
Hey, I'm walking
Hey,
here.
I'm walking.
But yeah, it's open to the public, so you can go visit anytime you want. Just be careful at night.
Stop copying me. Stop copying me, huh?
I'm not touching you.
Levitating flowers.
Yeah, it's like your sister's on the. I'm not. I'm like fucking 15 feet away. What the fuck?
I know,
The cross
but I
is
am
like,
touching
you
you.
should have kissed me non-consensually. If
I
you
know.
wanted to come
I
in.
know. It's like, yeah, it's like you gotta kiss this cross because you're gonna have something follow you home. It's like I feel like this is like a trip.
Yeah.
Now, if you get spanked by the cross, are you like fucking like safe forever? Because kissing it like saves
Yeah, at
you
least
the
you
night.
think of the most important things, Bobby.
Get paddled
If
by
it gets
cross.
shoved down my throat, will I be safe forever?
No,
That's like
I'm not deep throating an old cross. I'll get spanked by an old cross because there's like that clothing and stuff. But like deep throating,
can you imagine the tetanus that's on that cross?
That's fine.
Give me the shivers like it really did.
Think about all the people that have kissed it.
I mean, you have like the Wailing Wall and the.
Yeah, but Irish people
Yeah.
seem like it seems much cooler to do that in Ireland than it does in New York.
True.
I-
fucking New
Probably
York. It's like
cleaner.
fucking New York.
I mean, I'm gonna guess this isn't in New York City. It's
No.
probably in the outskirts, which
Yeah.
are basically country.
Yeah, it's agriculture.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
It hadn't been a long.
Becky does not operate in facts and logic, right?
She's
No,
just
no.
she's just picturing Central Park and a.
Like goddamn.
Hey, what are you doing
Your
here?
tongue punching
Hey,
the fucking
I'm about
cross.
to, I'm about to get mugged as I'm about to
A
get
taxi
this cross.
goes by with the levitating flowers in it. I need to get to 4th in Brooklyn.
Fucking homeless people asking, why are you kissing that cross, bro?
And then you see the copy, why you kissing the God.
Man wants a pizza
Leave
right
it to
now.
Bobby to find the derpiest cemetery.
I thought
Jesus.
I just like, this seems interesting.
I
Fuck
think
it.
it's it's sad because it really is a children's cemetery, but all the stuff that's being done is definitely what kids would do. That's
but-
the funny part.
I mean, even then, like I look at it like, yeah, a lot of kids died back in the days. They didn't just chuck them in the back 40. They buried them.
Yeah.
in the middle of Central Park, go kiss
Yeah.
the park.
In the middle, you know. Well, speaking of children's cemeteries, and we will get there, I want to talk about Gettysburg Cemetery. You'll see the connection.
I was about to say what a transition, Angie.
Well, it is. It actually is. But we're going to get there. So everyone knows Gettysburg from the Civil War.
No.
And, okay, I'll just give a brief
You're
history.
fucking around.
No, I'm
I'm
actually going to give a brief
I'm
history.
not from this country. Can you please explain it?
Well, I'm going to give a brief history of the Battle of Gettysburg because a lot of historians believe it was the deciding point in who would win the war.
Mm-hmm.
So what you had was General Lee saw a chance to stop the Union soldiers from pushing further down. So he sends everybody up. A lot of people say Gettysburg's fought over shoes because one person said, I heard about a shoe shipment. Not true. And so you had the Union soldiers coming down, and they both were trying to get to the area before the other, but the Union soldiers got there first and had taken the hills. So they weren't mountains, but there was a big hill and a little hill. Big round top, little round top, also called Sugarloaf. So what happened was, to me, it's just such a horrible case of timing, like timing being on the side of the Union soldiers and just lack of communication. And you had one general who was like, not going to do what I'm supposed to do. So what happened was Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas had sent their best troops there. So they were like the forward vanguard. And Alabama was coming up the flank. Texas and Tennessee were coming up the front. And they took the big round top. And so when the general got to the top, he could see down on Little Round Top, also called Sugarloaf. There's like 500 people. He's like, okay, we can take this right now. But they were exhausted. But there weren't a lot of people there. So he's like, calls the march up down to Sugarloaf. We're going to go take it right now because there's nobody there. What he didn't know is that a new general for the Union had arrived and said, oh my God, our flank's wide open. Get some people here. So the Confederates start up the hill. 10 minutes before they got there, the reinforcements arrived. Confederates didn't know it.
Oh shit.
Timing. So the Alabama charges. Now, they're the best in the Confederate Army, like the best of the best. Think like your Navy SEALs, like the Army Rangers, the best. They're going up. Suddenly they run into cannon fire and rifle volley. Immediately just frontline gone. Because they didn't know that 10 minutes before they had gotten there.
Right.
So now these fresh, like, well-rested troops are there from the Union. But did that stop them? No. They regrouped and almost took it. So they come back around, and it's originally the Union troops were in like a triangle formation. Well, they collapsed like this, forming like a hairpin. And then here comes another wave of reinforcements. It's just horrific. So keep in mind, on the July 1st, 1863, 50,000 soldiers reportedly were wounded, killed, casualties, just out of the fight. So 3 days of this. Sorry, I get excited talking about Gettysburg.
They say that there was so much loss of life and so many people shot that all the creeks and rivers around Gettysburg ran red
Ran
with the
red with
blood,
blood, yeah.
for a week. That was a lot of that was. I mean, you have to remember, like, once they get shot, the doctors, that arm's coming off. We may do, if y'all ever want to do like a Civil War, whatever.
Hell
episode,
yeah.
I've got a bunch of, I do a lot of metal detecting, so I have a lot of recovered artifacts. So I have bullets you can hold in your hand and see what they're shooting at each other. I have grape shot that I've recovered.
Yeah.
It's a different type of feel.
And they were bludgeoning, not piercing. So
Yeah.
when you keep that in mind, when they hit your bone, it just shattered it. There was no saving
I've
it.
got,
weren't
I've got
you-
fired bullets that you can see this in. You can see where they struck something hard, and they don't go through. They just deform and destroy.
Yeah, they just mush.
Weren't you like didn't in history, wasn't that your real like part of your
Yeah,
major
Civil War
was
history.
Civil War history?
Yeah. So, okay, so also keep in mind, usually when it got dark, fighting stopped. Not so at Gettysburg, because the Confederate, well, he wasn't even a colonel yet. He was still a major. But Major Oaks was like, I think we can do this. And if they had communicated and worked together, they would have taken Sugarloaf. But there was also, right as it was collapsing, and I told you about the New York troop that came in. Right, no, it was Maine.
It was the main militia.
It was Maine. The Maine militia gets there, and they're like in their spiffy new uniforms, and they come in and they're led by this guy, and he's like, he sees what's happening, and he's like, let's go. And then right about that time, the general who's already there, they were almost out of bullets, and he's like, fix bayonets, and he charges down the hill, and the Confederates were so unused to that, they the whole front line almost surrendered while the others left. Like the general was like, we ran like a cow herd.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, a lot of the Confederates, most of these troops were not trained military guys.
No.
Right.
They were farm boys that were thrown into a war. They probably didn't care one way or the other about. They just weren't trained soldiers. I mean, this is 1863. You're 2 years into the war where the South had no munitions, really. They were running out of food.
They really
Right.
were out of shoes.
Yeah.
They had no shoes
Oh,
on
absolutely.
their feet. No
Well,
uniforms.
They had so far, the South at this point, and it's not the end of the war, it gets worse than this, but they had gone so far into the war without being able to get food and water that they were literally boiling their shoes to get the glue off of them so they could eat the leather they were made out of. I mean, this is the point of the war where they are starving. Sherman has moved and started cutting off lines and their supplies. There was no, and I get into this a lot, even had they won Gettysburg, there was no victory for them.
Right.
It was over.
Right.
I think the biggest, what I remember the most about not Gettysburg, the Civil War, is that if Stonewall Jackson had survived, the Confederate Army
Potentially
probably would
because
have
he
won.
was smart. See, I think the big turning point at Gettysburg for me was the fact that the Union troops were commanded by a professor. He was educated. He had read battle strategy, so he knew a lot more about how to position and counter.
I think Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and Grant all went to West Point. These were all
Yeah,
actually
very.
intelligent men. The South's problem was they had no way to produce things.
Well,
they
and
were
that-
out of food. They were out
Yeah.
of munitions.
Well, on
buttons,
top of it,
clothes.
like the North was really the more industrious portion
Absolutely.
of the United States. Meanwhile, the South was much more agricultural. So if you start getting rid of the agriculture and
You
the
crush
people
them.
and the people
Mm-hmm.
who were dealing with agriculture, it's gone. That's
Yeah.
it.
But what did the South Side? We had perfect shots.
Yes.
So here at Gettysburg, there was a lay of land called Devil's Den. And it was like a rock face that looked like the devil.
Yep.
Supposedly he lived there as in big snake form. But your Confederate sharpshooters, they took it from the Union. Confederate sharpshooters went down there. They killed 90% of the Union officers on top of that hill. But they didn't get Chamberlain. He was able to turn the tide, him and then the main troop that came in. And they were like, that troop was just, it was 536 men. Just completely turned the tide of it. Because even with the Alabama troop, they had done so much damage and done so well that when they came up the other side from the east, like they almost took the hill, but then these 536 men come in and turn the tide again. But think about charging up a hill. It's I can't remember the anglage, but it's pretty steep. So you had the high ground and you're just firing cannons down. So the cannons at the bottom can't fire up. They can't make them go up that high. So you're running directly into musket fire and cannon fire. You're just getting mowed
Levels,
down.
yeah.
That's why they call Kennesaw Mountains battle the battle. It's a little Gettysburg battle because it was a very similar circumstance and
it
what
was a
occurred.
high
It was
ground
high
versus
ground
low
versus
ground.
low ground. It was just who could take advantage of that.
Versus, again, it's not like rifles today that shoot a small copper-jacketed projectile for, a mile and a half. these are giant. I mean, 54, 58, and 69 caliber lead shot. They are heavy
Like,
and
I
they
might
are
miss
big.
you, but I'm gonna hit
Well,
something.
the thing is, like, you didn't necessarily have to be accurate because of the way they fired. Even the grape shot and the cannonballs, they just need to nick you.
Yeah.
If they touch you at all, they're carrying so much force and velocity. You're out of the fight. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to do so much
So when
damage.
you hear about casualties, keep in mind, you're like 3,100 people died at Gettysburg, but 50,000 were casualties. Casualties also include the people who could no longer fight.
yeah.
So when you hear about casualties,
well, I mean, they have, even here where we live, there were a lot of doctors in the hospitals that were, they had to cut off limbs constantly because if there was no,
Right.
if you got nicked, that arm came off, that leg came off because you would get sepsis and gangrene.
That's why the Marshall House in Savannah is considered one of the most haunted hotels, because it was converted to a hospital during the Civil War, and that's where they did all the amputations. And if you had to be amputated, you either were, it was a good chance you weren't going to survive what was going to
Absolutely.
happen.
yeah. Well, so many people died in the Battle of Gettysburg that the bodies were left there for weeks, untended to, and then a lot of them were just buried where they fell.
Yeah, wherever they fell.
Mass graves. And then on Sugarloaf, you still had bodies being found in 1996 that hadn't been buried yet. Also, with the Union being the victors, they didn't bury the Confederate dead. And those who were buried in Gettysburg Cemetery were dug up and just,
Chucked.
yeah, get out. We
Yeah.
don't want you here, you
Well,
traitors.
they didn't consider them worthy of an honorable death.
Right.
Right.
They were traitors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So only the loyal, they call it a loyalist cemetery, were allowed to be buried there. So we have, these unburied people who died in this battle. And like you had said about the hospital, so there were a couple of plantation houses around the battlefield. Because keep in mind, these Civil War battles took place in towns.
Well, they were fields. The places
Yeah.
that were open were agricultural fields. Like
Yeah.
they worked them
This
for
was Virginia.
Right.
Yeah.
There was
So-
no coordinating.
Pennsylvania.
Well, I was going to say, there's no coordinating a battlefield. It's like, okay, today this is where we know we're going to have a battle, and it's going to be out on the outskirts where nobody's going to get
And
hurt.
sometimes that was the case.
Right.
But when you had the Confederacy picking at your heels, like
Yeah.
they were guerrilla fighters at this point.
Right.
Because they couldn't face the Union Army head on.
No, they would have been slaughtered.
Yeah.
They had
Exactly.
to take the Revolutionary War tactic, or it was just over.
Yeah.
You couldn't fight in the standard straight line formation with cannons behind. Their firepower was just too overpowering, and they knew the landscape. Again, you have to remember a lot of this were fought in the southern colonies. The Southerners knew where they were fighting.
Well, and that's why initially they were winning those battles, is because when they were clashing, hey, the Southerners, not only are they very agriculturally minded, but they know how to work land.
Well, even then, it didn't matter. I mean, the North, the plan, even then, the war of attrition was a real thing, and they could just outlast them.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many battles they win, we can just keep going.
Yeah.
And keep in mind how naive people were at the start of the war. Like the very first battle, people brought picnics out to the hillside to
watch it,
They
yeah.
had no idea. They're like, it'll be one and done. Well, it wasn't. And so Gettysburg has this, and like I said, they're still finding people, the Confederates buried where they are, unmarked. Like there's like 585 unknown graves out there. So that you had a lot of plantations or just or farmhouses around the area that served as hospitals for the Union and Confederacy. But the story that hits me the most, there was one civilian casualty. There was a lady who had come to Gettysburg to take care of her sister who just had a baby. She's in the kitchen making dinner, and somehow a bullet comes all the way across the field through 2 doors and hits her right in the heart, like just boom. And it's like, how does this even happen?
Because you have to remember their rifles. They're called rifles, but these didn't really have rifling.
No.
Yeah.
Their bullets were not accurate. They were just
Yeah.
chuck as much lead through the air as you can, as fast as you can,
Yeah.
and hope it hits something.
Well, and just her luck that it went through 2 doors and still had the velocity and aim. It wasn't aimed at her.
Yeah,
but
it just hit her.
What shit luck.
Well, there's a church not far from here that has a cannonball. It's actually in a glass case that when they remodeled the church, they found 2 of them that it had been hit.
Unexploded. Oh, man.
Yeah, so they kept one of them and donated another one to the museum. But when they remodeled that side of the church, they just found 2 cannonballs that hit the side of the church. And that wasn't a thing that they normally didn't aim at churches.
Yeah.
A lot of the battles in the Civil War took place near churches because that was just a meeting point. Like,
Yeah.
they needed places, bridges, churches. A lot of these are those kind of areas, river crossings, fords.
Yeah.
They needed
They need
places that matter.
Yeah.
And a lot of the churches didn't get burned down, even in Atlanta. Ezra Church, they didn't mess with the church. This is not a thing they did because a lot of these were all Christians at some point.
Nobody wants to piss Jesus off like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even there, it's because everything's so inaccurate. They were just chucking huge amounts of lead through the air.
Yeah.
They found 2 in the walls. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But there's one still on display, and you can go look at it. It's super cool, but it's just, that's how inaccurate everything was. It was just, I'm going to throw a heavy thing really fast and hope it hits something.
Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking about the inaccuracy, it's not like you can dodge. You see a rifle pointed at you, I'm going to dodge right or left. No, your best bet is probably just to hit the deck.
Yeah, stay low.
Just stay low, which the Confederates were good at. And, you know, if they had communicated better and worked together better, they probably would have taken that. And I've read a lot of statements that would have been the turn of the war. But to your credit, Chris, and what you said, I don't see that.
Well, you also have to remember,
we also had a lot of deserters at that time.
Well, we had deserters. They were starving to death. They had no clothes. They had no shoes. They had a lot of them had long since killed whatever horses they had.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's 10,000 troops coming that they didn't know about.
You're dealing with harsh winters with malaria and yellow fever and typhoid. No food, no water, no shoes, no blankets, no hardtack, to the point of where they've killed their horses for meat a while ago.
Oh,
because
speaking
that's
of
all
which,
they had.
5,000 horses died at Gettysburg first day. 5,000 horses. So so I told you the dead lay where they fell for weeks, maybe even months. And so people, when they walked by, would put peppermint and vanilla scents. So one of the things in Gettysburg is you'll smell peppermint. You'll see, like, there's roll call for the Confederate soldiers and the Union. You'll hear fighting, horses screaming, cannon fire. And you can imagine getting killed that way. Your spirit's probably stuck there for a while, that eternal fight. Because these people, both sides, truly believed in what they were fighting for.
I don't know a lot of the Southerners. I'm not sure. Again, a lot of them were uneducated farmers, which is why you had so much desertion in the South Side. I don't think they cared one way or the other necessarily. I think a lot of them thought...
Pride, maybe?
Yeah, well, they're coming into our land. This is ours. Mm-hmm. But what they were actually fighting for, I don't know if most of them actually cared.
I don't believe they did understand the politics of it.
Well, that, and even, people still argue the politics of it now, where it's not slaveholders versus the North. There weren't as many slaveholders back then as there were just everyday farmers.
It was free states versus slave states.
Yes.
And the power swing in Congress.
Absolutely.
It's same as it is now, like who controls Congress, Democrats or Republicans, determines who controls the Electoral College.
But people just have this weird image of the Civil War in the South back then, as it was just these huge sprawling plantations and manors.
Right. And we're going to keep our slaves,
it's fine. Those did exist, but that was not the vast majority of the South. It was mostly just poor people that were farming, either sharecropping or that just didn't have any money. Like, they were just subsistence living and trying their best, but there were those large plantations, and that was the majority of the slaves in the South were the large plantations. So it's not like all these people were slave owners that were going to fight the dirty North trying to take their slaves, because most of them, A1, didn't have slaves, A2, couldn't afford them. And they were not educated. Like, these were just dumb farm boys, and you can see it a lot when you look at the Southern maps from the Civil War. They are drawn so poorly. These aren't trained cartographers. They're just uneducated that are writing down as best they can a lot of times. Mm-hmm.
So another thing we'll talk about in the Devil's Den, which is there at Gettysburg, there was a young Confederate soldier who died. And people who go through there, suddenly their camera equipment will just die. He hates photographs. So it turns out when you look at the old Civil War photos, there was a photographer who took one dead body and posed him all around the battlefield. So if you have a camera out there, he's after you. He does not want his picture taken again.
Oh, that's cool.
That was interesting. But getting to the worst... Okay, so you think that's the worst part of Gettysburg. It's not.
Nope.
So they opened an orphanage, which was called the National Homestead at Gettysburg. Because remember, these kids lost their parents. The freed slaves in the South, the slaves which... Sometimes they fought side by side with their owners. They truly, there were slaves who didn't want to be free.
Right.
Who, when you tell someone enough that this is your lot in life.
This is what they believe.
Yeah, they believe it, and they don't want to see the people they've come to care about.
Well, and I think a lot of people were also fearful of what that meant when you're a freed slave, but think about how difficult that was living in that circumstance.
Next? You have to think from their point of view. I have no education. I have no job skills
Right.
beyond being whatever I do at this farm, be it
Right.
picking cotton, raising chickens, tending the cattle. Can I make a living? I have to buy a house now.
I've got to find land.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
It's a whole different mindset when you've never had to, when it's thrust upon you, when I have to do all of this with there was no help.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't 40 acres and a mule, not real life. This was,
Yeah.
these people are going to be homeless, which is why even after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the war, a lot of the former slaves stayed on as sharecroppers
Yeah.
to the plantations they were
And
with.
became the indentured servants.
Because that's
Robinson.
all they had. Like,
When you
it's
consider,
terrifying.
what is it, like 1,200 graves in Arlington Cemetery as freed slaves
Yeah.
who died because they had nowhere to go?
Absolutely.
So I think, there was also that, and you hate talking about it because it sounds
Well, it's
racist, but it's not racist.
it's
It's
just truth.
realistic.
Yeah, these people had nowhere else to go, and it's not like they could just hop on a train and take off.
Right. So
They have no money.
So they probably did believe highly that this is like they want to keep that's their belief in life. Like,
Well, that or I mean, you have to think the owners probably told them like, if this happens, what are you going to do?
right.
What's your next move? You
Yeah.
have no home, no money, no skills, no way to do anything. You either stay here and work for us,
Yeah.
or you die.
And we'll free you.
Yeah.
And give you a plot of land that you can work for us. It sounds like a way better deal. Especially when you're not, like you said, have no education to know
You have
better.
nothing. I mean, even when you read about freed slaves that went up north, if most of them that did well got apprenticeships and training, but a lot of them came back to the South because
Yeah.
that's what they knew how
Yeah.
to do. That was their skill.
Right. Yeah.
They were basically farmers. You can't go somewhere where there are no farms and be a farmer. If that's what you do, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So you either starve or you go back to what you know,
Right.
and it sucks.
So you had a lot of the freed slaves and the children who had no longer had caretakers, which would have been like their mammies. So they made this orphanage, and there was a lady who took over. It was great at first, but then here comes Rosa Carmichael. Now this lady, think of like Nurse Ratched, but on an orphanage level,
Oh God.
or Madame Delphine.
Yeah.
She did to the kids what Madame Delphine did to slaves.
oh my God.
Just to put it in perspective, she devised horrific torture punishments. She would chain them in. She built a dungeon in the bottom of the orphanage, would chain them in there, starve them, dehydrate them, like beat them, warp their ways of thinking. She'd just flat out kill them sometimes. And nobody really knew what was going on.
Well, you have to remember also, just because the war is over doesn't mean she thinks of these as people.
Right.
Like, mindsets they don't change that quickly. It takes generations.
Yeah. Oh, she was just a miserable bitch. So at the bottom of the Gettysburg, the worst hauntings are from this orphanage with the children screaming, and the angry children. And they want revenge. They want to lash out.
But there's no one to lash out
But
to
a
anymore.
lot of people say it's probably Rosa Carmichael who's there, and if she catches you or you're young, I mean, she hurts you.
oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, so it's like, can Gettysburg get any worse?
Let's go sage that bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. Oh, what a freaking hooer. You hooer.
Yahuwah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff around the site, but apparently Sugarloaf, which is now I think called Little Round Top.
Little round.
Yeah, it still has, where like you can hear the battle up there and just feel it. Oh, I almost forgot the most important thing I want to say. During the Battle of Sugarloaf, people asked the general, they asked Chamberlain, what made you decide to do what you did? Because he suddenly switched what he was doing and just completely changed. And he, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, he said, well, whether you believe it or not, General Washington came to us. And he told us where to go, twice. He was like, so when the founder of the country shows up and says, do this, you do it.
Okay.
And he said, I'm not saying it's real or not, or you have to believe it, but this is what happened.
This is
Can
why I
you
did
imagine if George Washington shows up and tells you to do something that's like, you were our first president? Sure.
And you kind of want to believe it because, like, literally 10 minutes, like, we're talking about a matter of minutes in war that really turned the whole tide of it because they were completely unguarded on that flank. If Alabama had broken through that was it for Gettysburg. It would have been over before it started. But it didn't because Washington appeared and was like, hey, yeah.
And you have to remember, Washington beat a far superior army with far superior numbers.
Yeah, one of the best military minds probably ever. And so he pops up and he's directing you.
Cool.
I'm probably going to listen.
Let me go ahead and do whatever you say, homie.
I
'cause-
picture him like the monkey from Family Guy.
oh, Just pointing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna make a sports reference here, but it's like you're down a game, and Vince Lombardi suddenly pops out, and he's like, "This is the
Yeah.
game plan. You're running in the alley, up the gut, and it's Vince
And the
Lombardi. You don't say fucking no.
Damn right, Vince.
Yeah.
I'm on this.
You don't say no. It's
And
Vince
if you're
Lombardi.
the Falcons, you still lose.
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah, but you wait till the last 5 minutes to lose.
yeah.
You
5 seconds.
You let them think they're gonna win.
Yeah.
You give us hope.
And then nobody's like,
That's-
I can't do anything with this.
That's
damn
really the true story of this. The Falcons season being in the grave already.
Yes.
Just go 0-16
Full
at this
circle.
point. Fuck it.
To be fair, I think they're only like 4 games out of first. And
Yeah. We don't have to talk about it.
We should just keep losing and get first pick and get Lawrence.
No, we'll fuck that up anyways. We'll start winning at the
We'll-
end of the
We'll,
season.
we'll
and be
trade
like,
it for 3 second-round picks. Like,
Yeah.
No, it's
What?
What? You have an injured linebacker? We'll take him for our first round.
It's funny. So way more sports stuff. We're off topic, but I'm going with it anyway. Way back in the day when OJ was up for the draft, for a while the Philadelphia Eagles had the worst record in football, and it got to the point where the fans are like, "Fuck it, let's just keep losing. We'll get OJ." The Eagles win their last 2 games, so then the Bills only had 1 win, so the Bills get to go draft OJ Simpson, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah. Could you imagine the 80s?
Isn't it amazing?
That'd be
like
some bullshit
how
times,
things
cool.
turn the tide, like General Washington just popping up and telling you what
Yeah.
to do. Like the things that'll turn the tide.
It's
mean-
like the
In history.
Browns when they went 0-16. I'm sure that was calculated. Let's just go ahead and keep the last place.
As a Browns fan, believe me, it was not calculated.
We're going to say it.
They don't think of anything.
No, because there's that one game against the Steelers where you had like chance to kick like 2 field goals and muffed them both. That happens. Trust me.
We can't talk. We're Falcons fans.
Yeah.
No shit.
Y'all didn't draft Johnny Football. I don't want to hear
That's
anything.
just true. That's
You're-
true.
No, that's true.
Y'all
That
just-
is true.
y'all
We
draft-
might be whelming.
Yeah. You drafted Brett Favre and traded him for Michael Vick. Which is
yeah.
But to be fair,
worked out well.
Brett Favre back then had a opioids addiction and stuff, so we didn't know what it was going to be.
Michael Vick was killing dogs.
Yeah, but we didn't know that though. We didn't know these things.
Give me the opioid addiction.
Yeah, we didn't
Brett
know.
Favre reminds me of that backup quarterback from that series Blue Steel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that that show. Anyways, still Gettysburg was horrific.
The end.
Football.
But the land all around there, because like Chris and I said, it's all fart.
Wait.
It's all fartland.
I will say,
It's all
hey,
fart on foam
we
land.
can relate it back. Remember the Titans. They ran to Gettysburg.
Okay.
So you got it. You brought it. You brought some.
Nah,
I'm just
I
reaching.
don't really remember that. I
Nope.
mean, I remember them running, but yeah.
And now all of Gettysburg is actually a historic war monument, which is probably what it should be, but I really want to go metal detecting out there, and that
Yeah.
is very, very illegal.
I
Yeah.
drove through Gettysburg once because it used to be drive-through. I think they have like a train tour that goes
Yeah.
through now. But when you first enter, it's like quiet, be respectful, and I swear you can hear shit. I don't know if they pipe in noises, but it's like
Like the
was that a
Falcons.
fort? Exactly. Okay, a lot of places do that.
Especially during the pandemic.
Whose fan are you?
I'm relating it back to football.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's you talk about that eerie vibe. That is like it feels charged, and there's still cannons out on the field.
Oh, yeah.
everywhere, and you're like, my God, this is.
It's like it's frozen in time without the bodies.
Yeah, and you could look over at Sugarloaf and Big Round Top, and you're just like, they're not even mountains, they're just hills. And so you picture the men on these hills, and there was that many men, and you're like, how? Like,
Because that's what war was back then.
yeah.
It's terrifying to think about, but I mean, the reason the Americans won the revolution is the guerrilla tactic. We did not necessarily always line up in straight lines like the British, and it was considered cowardly and unhonorable to fight that way.
Yeah.
However,
Who gave
well.
a shit?
we'll be cowardly and unhonorable while y'all die and get back
That's,
to the
Yeah.
country.
that's what Washington's thought process is like. Well, we've already left.
Yep.
Your way of thinking, we're gonna leave it some more.
Back-to-back World War champs,
Yeah.
baby.
And Washington just appears on the mountaintop, like,
Well, I wonder about like things like that, like Joan of Arc. Like
yeah,
she supposedly saw God that was directing her, but what if it had been, another
yeah,
Genghis Khan or
exactly.
whatever coming through in that?
That she misunderstood as
Yeah.
God, and she was kind of off the deep end anyway. But
Well, yeah, but she's also a young girl who,
yeah,
whatever
Who
was
didn't know-
directing her to do
Yeah.
these military tactics.
very naive.
Yeah.
She was. So she probably would have just thought it was God. Meanwhile, it's like, Julius Caesar.
Yeah, whoever. Not Napoleon.
Rick Ross.
Hannibal.
Yeah,
Like it could have been anybody
it could have been. Yeah,
that was military minded. I mean, and in her defense, maybe it was God. But she got burned for being a
maybe
witch,
it
so
was.
who knows?
Yeah.
We love y'all, and we're going to try to live stream from the cemetery tonight, which should be fun.
Yeah, going back to the whole reason why we did this is we're going to a cemetery. None of these cemeteries. But we're going to a creepy
we're
cemetery.
gonna break out alone. So
We're going to have breakout rooms.
Oh no, I'm holding Mark's hand the whole time.
Also,
I'm gonna watch that in case it escalates
Yeah.
into some yowie.
so a little history on where we're going tonight. The cemetery has been there since the 1830s, I think is the first grave. The church that stood there was built in the late 1820s. It burned down in the 1840s. It has since been rebuilt in another location. When the church burned down, they actually went through the ashes and took the doorknobs, the nails, and all the old metal hardware because it was super expensive back in the day. And they used it in the new location, which I've also been to a couple times, which is it's pretty cool. But this one, there is no standing church anymore. There is just the grave and the markers, and there's a big field, and it's going to be super fun. And it is kind of in the middle of the woods, and there's not too many houses near it, so it's pretty creepy. It gets weird at dusk. I've been out there at dusk, and it's going to be even creepier at night, so this should be fun.
Sweet.
Oh, boy.
Hey Becky, where can they find us?
Oh, boy.
Not on Google, remember?
Oh, let me change Google. Apparently, it's on. Okay, I still got to figure out what exactly it's changed to, but it's something different. I think it's YouTube Music. But hey, you can find us on Facebook at the Free Rotation Podcast. You can
And
find us
Spotify.
on Twitter at the Free Rotation. We are going to try and stream the creepy stuff on Twitch at the Free Rotation.
Yes, we got yelled at. Like we're streaming. Becky's doing it. He's like, "Why didn't you stream it?"
I was like, because it's dark out and you can't see.
There's
Anyways,
no signal where we were.
Yeah, no, there's no.
Yeah.
I mean, where we were at, there is no signal.
We'll play it by
There's-
ear.
we'll play it. Yeah, we'll play it by ear. You
So
can
we're
find
gonna
us.
try tonight. Yeah.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music. I don't really know what it's called anymore.
Yeah. Whatever Google plays.
Yeah,
become.
Stitcher, all those places. Check us out there. We're also affiliates of Weeby Geeks. Check out all the other great podcasts at WeebyGeeksBC.com. And we are also on our own website. I guess that makes no sense what I just said, but whatever. Check out TheFreeRotation.com.
And we have some upcoming interviews. So I locked in Elena Christine, who
Heck
is
yeah.
a TikToker.
Oh.
And she's committed to doing an interview with us. So we're excited about that. And go over to Twitch and check out Elena Christine. I think it's really cool.
Fuck yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, she plays Valorant, Among Us. She also is on Twitch Sings. She's got a great voice. So just check her out. And I'll be in touch with her about setting up a time after I talk to you youth guys.
Youth
All right.
Hey, you guys.
See you in the darkness.
Love you, bye.